Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It's a beautiful Monday morning, August 15th, 2022. We get together with our distribution partners most weekdays at this time to talk about strategies, tips, share success stories, but mainly we're here to support each of you. If you hear a little less enthusiasm, I think I mentioned last week, COVID went around the office and it certainly landed in my house. So under the weather a bit, but excited to visit with you all today. One of the things that our leadership team asked us to do is to spend more time on these daily trainings supporting you and less time lecturing, if you will. So what I want to encourage each of you to do is use the Zoom function. It's called question and answer. It's almost like a chat function. And so if you have questions or comments or concerns, you're facing challenges, this is a great time for us to work through it. And frankly, if it's an issue that you're facing, it may be very well affecting others. So our primary purpose on these calls Zooms going forward, including today, is to support each of you. So I'm going to go through a bit of a topic, but it's really on your shoulders. It's your burden to go ahead and state what questions you have or what challenges you're facing so we can help resolve those. So as shared on the screen here, we launched the SBA Express program a couple of weeks ago, and it's frankly far exceeded our expectations. You know, we've offered and continue to offer the 4-week funding program and the access to capital. So nothing has changed with either of those, what we'll call them campaigns. But what we found with SBA Express is the fact that it has a more definitive focus. It has a shorter time frame. It's been really well received. Now, from your perspective, it puts money in your pocket up front, and it puts more money in your pocket after funding. So I think we have a home run here in terms of if we have something that's better for the client and better for you, the distribution partner. So on the left-hand side of the screen, I'm just simply on the business paralegal website on the SBA Express loan page. This is where you can submit clients if all you're wanting to do is just refer them in. What we've offered you and we've trained you, though, to do is, and you'll make a simple $100 for just referring them in here. But alternatively, what you certainly can do, maybe should do, but can do at least, is actually secure the agreement with the client directly. And then at that point, you're using your terms and conditions, your pricing, and obviously most of you are marking it up. And so you can justify that through the additional consulting or advisory services that you're providing. So it's not as if that you're taking advantage of the client. It's not that at all. Take H&R Block, right? You can go online and do your taxes. Maybe they still do free federal filing. It's next to nothing. But if you want more assistance, you pay more and you get more. So if you take that approach, you could offer the SBA Express loan program. And so while our loan packaging is very transparent, there's nothing that prevents you from offering additional consulting, advisory, guidance services and mark it up. That would be up to you. Many of you are marking up because, well, let's go through the standard offering just in case you don't know, and then we'll talk about what I've seen many of you do. So this is a $2,500 package to put the loan fee to put the loan package together. We have the grant that offsets 1,500 of that, so that limits it down to, we'll just round off and call it 1,000. And for us, we collect half of that up front and half after the client has received funding. So in other words, if you're going to submit someone in under your model, you would want to collect at least 500 up front, right? Because that's what you need to submit to us. But anything that you're collecting up front above 500 is money in your pocket. And again, that's up to you if you want to mark it up or not. And then we're not charging any performance fee on the back end. So any performance fee that you attach to the client is 100% yours. I've seen a bunch of different scenarios, but many of you are doing right at a 10% performance fee. So if the client receives 150,000 after they're funded, you're making 15,000 of that. And so maybe you feel like that's adequate income, maybe it's not, but that's your call. So again, two ways to help clients and make money. The first of which with the SBA Express program, the first of which is just refer them in here. And if you're listed as the referral source, you make $100. And so that's simple, but many of you want to make more than $100. And so that's where you're taking it out to the marketplace under your branding. You're essentially repricing it, layering in some additional value from your perspective, and anything above our cost is your profit. And that could very well be $10,000 or more. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's pivot on over to the right-hand side. So this is the press release that went out August 9th, so not quite a week ago. I really like press releases as a method to communicate the proposition to others, whether it be a prospective client, but especially to prospective referral sources. So I know each of you have your own approach to business development and community awareness, but let's take Alfred. Alfred's really involved with the religious outlet, we'll say. So what Alfred, I believe, has done, and others of you could do, is take this press release, and we can go through it if you want. You've probably seen it before, but you can take this to the pastor, to the bishop, to a faith-based leader, and explain, look, what we want to do is collaborate with you, Bishop Smith. What we want to do is help improve the financial literacy of our community. We want to help empower them economically by providing them access to funding to start to grow a new business. They can have just an idea in their head, or they can actually have a business that's already set up. And what we'll do, Bishop Smith, is actually, we have a great revenue share. So we'll pay you $1,000, Bishop, to your church for every person that goes through this curriculum. And again, you can word it as you want, but if you're marking up, as we've talked about, the pricing model, why in the world wouldn't you want to do more volume by doing some sort of revenue share with key influencers? And those key influencers could be business accountants, business attorneys, theoretically could be business bankers, certainly churches and community organizations. I've gone into apartment complexes and worked out a deal with the property management company where they allowed me to come in and teach our curriculum, and did a revenue share with them. So you can be very creative, because what you and I know is that while not everyone is a small business owner, if you take those people that are small business owners, or those that would like to be, that composes approximately 1/3 of the adult US population. So if you went to a church, you might say, well, Tom, that doesn't make sense. It's a church. It's not a chamber of commerce. They're not all small business owners. Well, true, but statistically, probably 1/3 of them either own a business or would like to own a business, but they need access to resources and capital to do it. And so if you have 1/3 of any population that's your target market, it makes sense to work through that key influencer, offer a revenue share. And one of the prior trainings, we talked about how we can come in, you and I can do this together, and we can teach a 1-day class. So instead of the participants going through the SBA Express program virtually and remotely, we can actually sit down with a group of them and knock it out in 1 day. We've had a training on that, and I encourage, many of you are embracing that, but those of you that aren't, you got Reverend Loveridge in Austin, Texas. I mean, why in the world, Reverend, are we not setting up an in-person class in Austin, Texas? You got Isa up in St. Louis. Isa, why in the world are we not setting up an in-person class in St. Louis, and for others of you in other markets? So I would go, if I were in your shoes, I'd take this press release, which we've sent out, and if you don't have it, let us know and we can send it to you. And I would take it out to faith-based leaders and other key influencers, set an appointment with them, go through it, and I'll walk you through the highlights here if you're not familiar with it, but really give them 2 scenarios, an either or. Well, Bishop Smith, what we'd like to see is how you'd like to move forward. Would you like us to set up an in-person class that we could have here at your place of worship? We can invite your congregation as well as the community, and we have a great revenue share that should generate around $1,000 per participant. Or if that's not a good fit for you right now, how can we go about, Bishop Smith, getting this message out? Do you have newsletters? Do you have email blasts? Could we maybe come in and speak at the beginning of one of your services? So it's not a yes or no. Of course, they could say no, but it's not a yes or no. Do you want us to work together to improve the financial literacy of the community? Do you want to work together to better economically empower your congregation or your sphere of influence? It's how do you want to do it? Should we do it through an in-person workshop, or should we do it remotely? All right, so let's go ahead and walk through the press release, because I think this is maybe more important of a resource tool than what some of you first have considered. Again, the purpose of the press release isn't just to go get it on the AP Newswire. It is to have a great resource for a talking point to visit with prospects or prospective referral sources, as I've stated. So let's just go through this and talk about how you might want to expand off of it. The grant subsidized SBA Express Loan Program was recently launched by Business Paralegal Corporation in conjunction with a 501c3 nonprofit to assist startup and early stage businesses access SBA 7A Express loans. Each participant receives an upfront $1,500 grant allocation and professional assistance in creating a loan package needed for funding. Now, again, this is generic, so this can be used regardless if you're going to be driving them into the online, remote, on-demand curriculum, or if we're going to actually get together and do it in person. So this works in either case. The loan package is specifically tailored for precisely what is needed for an SBA 7A Express loan, including a one-page business plan, financial projections, etc. So the problem is going to be that you know so much more often than the people that you're talking to, that it's real easy for you to assume they know what you're talking about. We had a number of lawsuits last week for some folks that didn't pay us. And so as I was talking to we have an attorney, but as I was talking to the judge, it was clear to me, even the judge, a very smart, obviously plugged in individual, he didn't have the background that you and I have. He didn't really understand what in the world is a loan package. So don't assume that when you're talking to key influencers that they necessarily know what a loan package is or why it's so important. Now we'll help them put that loan package together very quickly, and then we can submit the application. And everything that we say obviously is true, and we're working with a federally chartered bank, and so we're contracted with them. We're able to reference their turnaround times. So when we do so, we are referencing their turnaround times. So there's no exaggeration or hyperbole. They do normally same-day approvals, and they do funding normally in 10 business days. That's their turnaround time. So I'll have pushback from some people saying, well, that can't be true. Well, it is true. I'm not saying that it's always true with every type of SBA loan, but you and I are representing a specialized express program, and these are true facts. I guess they can believe us or not, but it is true. The 7A loan program, which is SBA's most common loan program, includes financial help for small businesses. And that's where you and I come in. We're called technical advisors. It's great for when they're buying real estate. It's great for short and long-term working capital. It's great for refinancing current debt. It's great for purchasing furniture, fixtures, machinery, materials, and supplies. It can be used for construction of a new building or renovation of an existing building. It's great for establishing a brand new business, acquiring a business, or even buying a franchise. And so these bullets are here for a reason. Obviously, they're accurate and true, but also, again, I think the problem that many of you are going to run into is that you're so smart and educated on this topic, and when you're talking to people, they don't know 1/100th of what you know. And so if you just went out, let's take Frankie, for example. She's so well spoken. I think it'd be easy for Frankie just to go out and say, hey, we've got this SBA 7A Express program that includes building your loan package. Well, what she said is true, but there's not enough meat on the bone for the reader or the listener to understand what's the value proposition. It's just terms. So when we stop for a moment and start to explain to them, well, here's how the money could be used. Here's some examples. Now you'll start to see their head nod, like, ah, okay, now I see. And then, of course, people are suspicious, which is fine. And so it's good for you to be able to explain, there are eligibility requirements. It would be too good to be true for you and I to go out to the marketplace and say, oh, just anyone could get 150,000. Just sign up for our program. Man, you'll get 150,000 tomorrow morning. I mean, that's unrealistic, right? But people don't know what they don't know. So it's good. It adds validity when you explain to them that there are eligibility requirements. And so, of course, we list those. This does not work for nonprofits. Now, I can tell you that we've had a number of nonprofits come to us. We help them start a for-profit subsidiary, and then we use that for-profit subsidiary to get an SBA loan. That's a backdoor approach. It's legal, it's ethical, it doesn't violate their 501c3 status. But in general, nonprofits don't qualify. We can do the workaround, which we just talked about. Needs to be considered as a small business, and that's based upon number of employees and number of revenue, but that's not going to be a concern with the target market you and I have. They have to be engaged in or propose to do business in the United States. They need to be able to demonstrate a need for a loan, which obviously we help them do with a loan package, and use the funds for a sound business purpose. So if we said, oh, I need 150,000 because I really want to travel the world for the next 12 months and I could have a kick-ass time, that's not going to get approved, right? So it's not anything unreasonable, but there are eligibility requirements. Unlike other business loans, the SBA Express loan is very attractive for a number of reasons. And again, I'm not going to go on recording. I'm not going to put in print. We're not going to post on the YouTube channel things that are not true. That's a recipe for getting in trouble. So everything that you and I are saying here to the audience, whether they're reading it or listening, is true. It's factual. Again, you'll have people that come back and say, oh, that's not true, because they don't know what they don't know, or our program is different than how they've seen before. That's what makes it so special. So we get approvals typically in the same day, and you've got to be reasonable, right? If we're submitting the application in at 4 p.m. on day one, are we going to get an approval on that same day? Probably not. Probably not. It's going to roll over to the next day, but typically same day. The funding is as little as 10 days, technically 10 business days. Yes, startups can qualify. And again, you'll get all kinds of pushback from people that are financially literate. Oh, no. I was told that startup businesses can't get an SBA loan. Well, they're a dumbass. They've not read the standard operating procedures, the SOP of the SBA. But someone told them that, some other dumbass told them that. So now they're replicating that ignorance. So you got to be thick-skinned, because what you and I do is innovative, it's credible, and it's legitimate, but it's different, right? And so people will sometimes not understand. There's no risk with a written guarantee. Obviously, the funding's coming from the largest SBA lenders in the United States. You and I are not the lender. And so we don't want to do we have a contract with the bank? We do. We have an executed contract with the bank. They had to come in and do the background check on us, and look at our credit, and look at our criminal history, and look at our finances. And so we've been vetted, but this is a federally chartered bank that's doing the loans. It's not you or I. We're not the lenders. And then we get to the all-important credit requirements. And so many people just don't know what they don't know. And when we say that, hey, you need a 165 FICO, some people will nod because they don't want to admit they don't know what the hell that means. And others will say, well, I don't even know what that means. And that's fine. That's a teaching moment. But it's off of a different credit scoring algorithm. What you and I know is that there's a different credit scoring algorithm for getting a mortgage, for getting a car loan, for getting a credit card. Well, to no surprise, there's a different FICO scoring algorithm for getting business loans, and it's called SBSS. But this is a true statement. I had a guy yesterday, Sunday, right? He texted me and he said, this is bullshit. SBA doesn't require any minimum credit scores. And what do you say to the guy? Right? He's so wrong, but he thinks he's so right. And so I think that's going to be your toughest challenge in helping people, is that so many people either don't know what they don't know, or they've been ingrained with wrong information that you look like a bad guy for conflicting their prior conception. But at the same time, that's the power of what you and I do. So you'll want to edit this press release, of course, and use it for your contact information. So ideally, when you go out to the marketplace, you're going to go out under your umbrella, under your branding. And so Scott Stroud, our Chief Marketing Officer, can develop a landing page just like this if you want, or you can develop your own. It's nice to have a little video in there, which actually talks about this press release, by the way. And so when prospects on your landing page fill it out, they don't even have to list referred by, it's automatically linked to you. So you can set up your own landing page, or Scott can do it for you, Scott Stroud, if you'd like. But regardless, this is a wonderful opportunity to go help people. We can help people on a one-by-one basis, or we can set up classes. I'm really encouraging you. A number of you have come and asked for exclusivity for given geographic areas. We had one lady yesterday that said she wanted exclusivity for the greater Las Vegas area. And we said, well, let's get the first workshop done, and let's make sure, because we've experienced people that are good-minded, but sometimes don't deliver. So for any of you that are looking for exclusivity for a given geographic area, we can talk about that. But first, let's do the first workshop. Let's make sure that you're good at it, that you enjoy it. And then if we want to set up some exclusive areas with some assurance of some volume, we can do that. All right, so Sam's asking, do you have to be a white label partner to present this as I've described? And the answer is no. No, you don't have to be a white label partner. You can be just one of our referral partners. And then that is followed up by Perry asking, how do you become a referral partner? So I can type that up. So if we go to 4weekfunding.org, Perry and anyone else, and down at the bottom, you can become a referral partner by filling this out, clicking yes. So, well, granted, I understand the 4-week funding is a different campaign. That is the portal in which that we set up referral partners. We don't have a different referral partner relationship for the 4-week funding, which is described here for the SBA Express loan. Maybe we should, but we want to keep things as simple as possible. So right now, there's really just two roles. You're either a white label partner or you're a referral partner. But regardless of which of those hats you wear, this model that we've described will work. All right, so let's start digging through your questions, comments, concerns. Several of you have agreed that the hardest, the best part and the hardest part of what we do is educating, but there's power in that. And so I believe using this press release will be your best strategy to getting referral partners. And we all should want referral partners. We should all want referral partners, because those are individuals and organizations and entities that can drive volume into you. You'd be pretty much foolish to just go out there and just try to do it on your own, because there's only so many people you can contact. But there's others that have a broader sphere of influence. Okay. Perry asked, what if they don't meet the 165? Not a problem. And I'm sorry, Perry, I didn't clarify that. That's not a problem. We're going to figure out where they're at. And if they're not there, part of what we do is help them. And actually it states here, we'll assist them in building out their business credit profile if needed. So they're not going to get left behind. They are already at that level they need to be, or if not, we'll help them get ready. So you don't need to filter people out. What I would not recommend, you can do what you want, of course, but I would not recommend doing is going out and saying, well, it's like asking for their COVID card. Can I see your vaccination card? I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go say, well, do you have a 165 FICO SPSS? I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I would talk about the benefits of the program, the different uses of funding. If you want to talk about the general eligibility requirements, that's fine. Help them understand the benefits of the program, why it's so attractive, and I'd get them enrolled. And we'll take care of as we're implementing, because there's only one of two scenarios. They're either already at a 165 and we proceed, or if not, we fix it. We don't need to worry about that as a filtering mechanism. Warren says he wants Central Florida, and at this point, we're not assigning any geographic areas. We're encouraging each of you to go set up your first workshop. Let's validate that you enjoy it as much as we enjoy it. You should make, if you set up an in-person workshop, you should be generating $2,000 up front. That'd be $200 per person with a minimum of 10 people. So that's $2,000 up front even before the event occurs. And then secondly, you'll get paid on the back end, whatever you choose, which we talked about is the performance fee of the client's capital raise. Now, will everyone that attends the class or that goes through the curriculum want 150,000? No, some of them don't. Some of them only want 55,000. Some of them only want 85,000. So what we don't want to do is encourage people to borrow more money than what they need, because of course they have to pay it back. But the performance fee, as I think most of you glean, it's just based upon a percentage of the capital raise. All right, so we got questions on how to reach Scott. So Scott is scott@smartmoneyalliance.org. scott@smartmoneyalliance.org is his company website. So if you need to get with him to get your landing page set up. Do you have to get a landing page from Scott that's replicated off of this? No, not at all. You can create your own. You can skip all that. I mean, it's up to you, but if you want that, Scott can help you with it. Lon asked a great question. Are we open to doing three-way calls to help get key influencers on board? Absolutely. Yeah, just use my Calendly. And frankly, we do that a couple times a week now. Probably should be even more often. So just schedule a slot, and then we can help you reinforce this value proposition. Absolutely. All right, Perry had asked about how to become a referral partner a minute ago, and we talked about that on 4-week funding. So we've got that. All right. Yeah, and if you need any resources or information, just simply email support@SBA Express Program.org and let us know what you need, and we'll be happy to support you. I'm not good enough at multitasking that I can facilitate this Zoom and also write down specific requests that people have. So if there's anything that you need outside of today's Zoom, just email right here and we'll get on it as soon as possible. So what are your thoughts? And I'm fine for some, we'll flip back over to the other page, to some constructive criticism, but what do you think is the downside of helping people get SBA loans? So let's just go around the horn. We've got a bunch of you. Lynette, what do you think is, why would this be a bad idea to help people get an SBA loan package? Jeanette, why do you think this would be a bad idea? Why is this just not what we want to do to help people? Frankie, what do you think? What do you think? Alfred, why is it that you wouldn't want to help anyone in your sphere of influence get a SBA loan package whereby it puts money in your pocket? Perry, Shondell, Warren, Jeremy, Issa, we got so many of you on here. Where's the feedback? Because to me, this is about the best thing since sliced bread. I think this is the most overlooked source of capital for small businesses. I think a lot of people have heard of the SBA loans, but they maybe don't understand there's different types of loans. And then the SBA is not really the lender, they're the guarantor. So it really comes down to the banking institution that you're working with. All right. And so, yeah, you'll get questions as Perry's asking, what's the interest rate going to be? Well, my first answer when someone asks me, what's the interest rate going to be? I would say, well, the lender has to decide that, because you and I, those of us here on the Zoom live or recording, we're technical advisors. We do not have the right, we do not have the authority to quote interest rates. What we can tell people is it's low because it's set as a cap by the government, but ultimately the bank is going to set the interest rate. Now, I happen to know what the interest rate will be as of today. It may change tomorrow, it may change later today. So I'll tell you what it is right now, but I tell you what, you're setting yourself up for failure when you start quoting interest rates, because it's not your authority to do so. But the interest rate right now through our bank partner is 4.75% above Wall Street prime. That's the technical answer, but that's subject to change. And if I were you, I wouldn't be quoting interest rate, because you get people all mad at you because the Fed may raise interest rates, maybe the lower interest rates, and that's not your role. The lender will decide. But it's very reasonable. As far as repayment term, now you can offer more specificity. The SBA 7A Express loans are set up on 120-month, a 10-year repayment term. And so you'll have some people come back and say, what will my payments be? I don't know. You're not approved for anything yet. You have no payments. I mean, we need to get the loan package together. We need to apply. But if you wanted to get your calculator out and divide, I don't know, 150,000 divided by 120 months, that'd give you a good indicator of what the principal repayment would be, right? But you just want to be careful. You get some questions that you're not the right person to answer. And citing an interest rate, I wouldn't do it. I'd certainly say that it's low interest rates. It's what makes this so attractive. It's capped by the federal government, but technically it's the lender that will have to offer you the interest rate, not us. Let's get the loan package put together. And frankly, if you don't like the interest rate, then don't accept it. But where else are they going to go to get a loan for around 4%, 5% over prime for business for a 10-year repayment term? They're not. I mean, there's not even a close alternative. Okay, let's see what other questions we have here. Yeah, Perry offered a bit of a testimonial statement, and I agree. I think you could even argue this is almost our moral and ethical obligation to go out and help small businesses navigate this process to get funding that's available to them. But what's awesome is that you can monetize it. When I worked for the SBA, I did much of the same thing, but I realized, wow, we could help a lot more people if we could work with professionals like each of you, like you, Alfred, you, Bernard, you, Frankie, you, Issa, Jeanette, Jeremy, Lynette, Lon, Perry, Chandel, Warren, and others. If we could work with professionals like you all and allow you to monetize it, because you can't monetize it through the SBA employment role. So that's why we moved this out into the 501c3 nonprofit, and it's a great way for you to help people and make money. Jeanette brought up a good point, is that some people confuse it with grants, right? And so there is a grant allocation going to every participant, and that's a great selling point. But the $150,000, as stated, is what? It's a loan. It's a loan, right? It's a loan. It's a loan package, not a grant package. It's a much different process to go put together grant proposals. That's not what we do. I'm not qualified to do it. You may be. I won't do it. I don't know how to do it. So this is different. Not grants, it's loans. So they're going to need to repay it. Now, and it goes back to what Lynette's mentioning. Sure, I mean, we need to put together their financial projections and make sure that they can afford it. Because if their business is not going to be profitable, frankly, you and I are doing a disservice to go help them get a big loan, right? Because if it doesn't look like that their business is going to be profitable enough to pay it back, then that would be a mistake. It'd be unwise, right? Well, why would you go buy a house you can't afford the mortgage payment on, no matter how much you like it? Why would you go buy a new Porsche 911 convertible, no matter how beautiful it is, if you can't afford to make the payment? So of course, we're going through the process and helping justify. And so it could happen. It could be that when we put the financial projections, that we come back and say, well, if you want to apply for 150,000, we'll support you in that. But based upon what we see, it doesn't look like that your cash flow is going to support more than 128,000. I mean, plug in whatever number you want, but ultimately it's up to the client. All right, let's see what other questions we have here. And I think we've covered it. So are there any other? Oh, here's a question. Warren asked, how do I reform my ads that were based upon the other guy's script? Well, I think the beauty of what we're creating for you, whether it be just the information on our website, or if you want Scott to build you a landing page, you've got great content here. and even more content here in the press release. I just don't think that you'll have to work too hard to go come up with new content. This is what we do. You know, these 2 pages right here describes what we do and what it is. And so just it's essentially cutting and pasting and formatting this message and getting it out to people. You can take it to individuals, but as I've insinuated, you can also take it out to key influencers to try to get greater volume. But I mean, you can just simply post this on Craigslist if you wanted. There always will be naysayers, but again, you and I would be foolish and wrong to say things that aren't true. And so all of this is factual. It's true. It's real. We've had people that have gone through and have received funding, of course. The bank is in the steady business of loaning money. The SBA is there to guarantee business loans, right? There is no grayness or fluff to this. This is how the program works. And if people want assistance in getting their loan package to go after a 7A Express loan up to $150,000, then you and I can help them, and you can monetize it, and you can make a great income. I mean, if you're making just $10,000 off of each client, I know a lot of you are big hitters, but I mean, what if you just help 1 new client a week? I mean, that would put you ahead of most people if you're bringing in, what would that be, $40,000 a month? Maybe your income needs are greater, then help more than 1 person a week. But it's a great opportunity to help people and monetize it yourself, and you're controlling how much money you make because you're setting the fee structure, not us, above our loan packaging fee, which we've covered. All right, anyone else have any questions, comments, concerns? All right, Warren says he needs a paycheck. Well, Warren, what you need to do, in my opinion, is take this proposition out. You need to identify who your target audience is, and then you need to create some sort of outreach campaign to let them know that you can help them with this. You can use a press release. You can get a custom landing page if you want. You don't have to, but you need to decide who you're going to reach out to, how you're going to do it. Make sure you have the materials to communicate that message and get the word out, and people enroll. I mean, we see it every day. I was talking to Alfred, I guess it was Friday. We've not yet reached 100 enrollments in a day, but I think this week we should start hitting that number by midweek. And so there's a lot of small businesses that are looking for capital. And this is a great, unique, innovative way to do that. And depending upon your pricing, it can be very, very affordable for them. If you don't mark up the front end, all they're paying is half of the loan package fee, which is essentially $500. Now, to the degree you want to mark it up, you can mark it up. To the degree you want to add a performance fee or fees on the back end, that's up to you. That's between you and them. That's not our agreement with them. That's your agreement with them. But, and frankly, if there's a small business that can't come up with $500 or whatever nominal add-on you want to add, they're in a tough position, right? So I think by not giving this away free, by charging for the loan package, we're doing clients a good service because we're filtering those out that are completely lack liquidity. All right, well, I think we've got a game plan, so let us know if you need anything. Again, the best way is to email support@SBAExpressProgram.org, and we're here to help you. Have a great day, and we'll see you tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.